Texas is flat. Or is it really? Well, I'm off with two other friends, Madeline and Caleb, from Caprock Canyon, to 3 other places in Texas, and hopefully change your mind. Our first stop is Guadalupe Mountains National Park. So this park is located at the borders of New Mexico and Texas. It's also the neighbor of Carlsbad Caverns National Park, which is about 25 miles to the north of New Mexico. The park itself is about 86,367 acres. So Guadalupe Mountain National Park is the home of the Guadalupe Peak, which is 8,749 feet tall. Now if you're thinking of hiking all the way to the top of this, make sure you have the right equipment, but also spend 6 to 8 hours of trekking. So what's cool about this hike is obviously the sceneries, but also there's a lot of changing terrains and different rock formations. And depending on the time of year you go, the weather changes for different parts of the mountain. And when you finally made it to the top to enjoy the view, make sure you sign that book to let the world know that you've been the tallest person in Texas for a couple of minutes. The best time to come to this park is possibly April in the spring or October in the fall to see the changing colors, and it's not so cold or so hot. Most of the weather is possibly around the 70s. We came here in February when the weather was in the 40s. Now to camp here, there's only 2 campsites, Dog Canyon and Pine Springs. They don't allow campfires, so you're gonna have to bring your own stove. There's like no trail to the top. It's ridiculous how high up we are. Now here's a travel tip for you. Now if you're coming from a really long road trip, make sure you gas up before going to this park. The last 2 cities is Del City from the Texas side and White Cities from the New Mexico side, because there is no gas station in this park. And I just want to give a huge thank you to Mike Lamb for asking this question and inspiring this part of the video. Our next stop is Caprock Canyon State Park. This park is located in Briscoe County, 100 miles southeast of Amarillo. This park is a hidden gem in Texas.
At one time, there were 30 to 60 million bison in North America. By the 1870s, 1880s, there was only about 500 left. And Goodnight captured a couple of calves out of the wild and started a herd. And the animals that we have here at Caprock Canyons now are descendants of that herd.
Roughly how many bisons do you think you have at this state park?
We have about 200 in the park. Started when we captured them in the wild in 96 off the ranch. There was about 32. We've grown it to 200.
We made it. We made it to the top. Meanwhile, I'm out of breath. And here's the view currently. And there's the pants. Whoever the owner is, please pick up your pants. Enjoy the view. Pick up your pants. Enjoy the view. There are some burn bans, but most of the year, you can have a campfire. Caprock has one of the darkest skies so you can see the Milky Way. Have some amazing hikes. And the camp experience here is pretty amazing if you haven't ever tried it.
To come out and see the stars here is just truly amazing. It's breathtaking.
Sunsets and sunrises here are amazing.
Pretty awesome. I've got a couple of secret spots in the park where I go and sit sometimes just to watch the sun come up or sun go down.
On our final location, Palo Duro Canyon State Park. This park is also near Amarillo and only about an hour and a half outside of Caprock Canyons. This park has the second largest canyon system in the entire United States of America.
Some are named and some aren't, but if you add all that up, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of acres of land. Part of what makes the state park so precious is that we're only about 5% of the entire canyon system in the state park. So the other 95% is privately owned in one way or another. Either there's some small housing additions in the north end, most of it is ranch land. There's also a church camp not too far south of us in the park. So, it really makes it a precious spot that anybody can visit.
Also home of the famous Lighthouse Trail.
It's pretty difficult. We always have to throw in a little bit about heat safety because in the summertime, the floor of the canyon tends to be 10 or more degrees hotter than the rest of the area. And so you're looking at temperature times about 115 or 120. Because we're in a semi-arid environment, the temperature drops a lot at night. And so it might be 70 or 75 when you wake up in the morning.
Somebody left their spring water here. So we're gonna use it to wash our hands and throw it away. Right?
That's right.
Okay. Because shirt says, pack it in, pack it out.
What's up?
This is a more popular park, so you might want to reserve early.
It's cold, and so things tend to warm up throughout the day, and so you might want to plan your hikes in the winter for the afternoon. As unpredictable as the weather is, there's just no one-size-fits-all plan for Palo Duro. You have to take it a day at a time, kind of plan the trip each day as best you can.
And besides hiking and camping, what other activities you guys have in this park?
For sure. We have a concession in the park called the Old West Stables. And so it's a private company that operates within the park boundaries, and they do horseback rides. They're guided horseback rides on their horses. And so you can show up with no horse, no experience, and they'll take you out and get you a ride in the canyon.
Yeah. All right, so you guys been with the 3 trips that I've been on. So we're gonna score the 3 parks with best scenic view, best activity, and best overall camping experience, right? So let's start with best scenery. Which one out of the 3 parks is the best scenery?
For me, I would say that Guadalupe Mountains National Park.
Madeline, what about you?
I would pick Caprock Canyon State Park for best views.
My one would be also Guadalupe Mountain National Park, just because of the peak. You get to see, like you said, the scenery. You don't get much of that view in Texas, so that's definitely number 1 for me on the scenic scale. Let's go on to best overall activities in these areas. Which one is the best?
So I'm going to stick with Guadalupe.
What about you, Madeline?
I personally think that Palo Duro State Park would have the best activities.
So I'm going to go at Guadalupe as well, just because, I'm a huge hiker. So, and then it's the tallest peak in Texas. You can't beat that, So that's definitely for me on my scale. So check that out. And the final category for overall camping, what would you choose?
So for overall camping, I'm going to stick with Caprock Canyon.
Madeline?
I'm going to pick the same thing. Caprock Canyon State Park is a lot of nostalgia for me because it was our first trip together.
Oh, nice. So I guess we're going to 3-way on the last camping experience just because Caprock Canyon has a lot of history with me too. Because that was also not with you guys, that was my first camping experience, but my first camping experience was at Caprock. And it's one of the best because in Texas, you can have a campfire most of the years, but they only have very few fire bans. And I think the other 2 parks, you don't have that experience. And for a whole camping experience, for me, a campfire is kind of essential. Thank you guys for joining me on this trip. Hopefully we'll do more in the future, and good luck to y'all. Follow them on Patrick Canteen on Instagram. They have their own personal Instagram as well. I've linked it in the video earlier. I'll see you guys next time.
Later, Jason.
Bye. Want more detailed adventure about the outdoors? Check out our podcast. Support this channel by going to www.daystravel.com/contribute. Pick one of the tiers and you'll be helping us and Mother Nature. If you haven't seen our last episode, click here. Also, if you want to be kept up to date, sign up for our newsletter. We send one out every week. And finally, don't forget to hit that notification button, and we'll see you next time.